All right, welcome to the training tonight, everybody. So we are discussing something that comes directly from Google, and I am going to share this link, especially with all of you guys who are here with me live right now. Let me send that out to everybody. You should get a link to this page right here, titled How Google Search Works. Google actually has a really cool section in their support department that shares their take on how they work and how they choose to rank different pages. You guys know as well as I do that a big part of our marketing strategy is generally found in the idea of trying to get your websites to be found and visible in Google for free. I'm not talking about the paid advertising. You can always pay Google to get found, and that's a strategy in and of itself that we won't be talking about tonight. I'm talking about the organic listings within Google. I'm talking about when somebody does a keyword search in Google trying to get your site to show up. But I want you to understand the intuition behind how it works tonight. And we've talked about this a few times in the past, but I want to take it as it comes directly from them. This is what they say about how they work. Now, there's three parts that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about crawling, we're going to talk about indexing, and we're going to talk about serving, okay? These right here, crawling, number one, we'll talk about that, indexing, number two, and serving, number three, okay? Some of you guys are like, I don't even know what any of that means, right? Maybe some of my newer clients. Some of you guys who have been with us for a while, we've talked about these things specifically in these Thursday trainings. Let's talk about them now, just based on what you guys know. What is it? What are we talking about when we're talking about crawling? The Google crawler, or we've talked about it before as being called Googlebot or the spider. While you're thinking about that and responding, let me just read this top part right here. It says, when you sit down at your computer and do a Google search, you're almost instantly presented with a list of results from all over the web. How does Google find web pages matching your query and determine the order of search results? That's what I want to discover with you guys for a minute tonight. I want you to understand the intuition of how Google works again. Meaning, if I'm here on Google and I do a search for Utah Jazz basketball shorts, I just sold a pair of these recently, so it's on my mind. Utah Jazz basketball shorts. How is it that Google then decides to display what they display down here? Okay, so again, you're going to notice first off, they're showing some shopping ads right here at the very top. Directly below that, this section right here, you can tell what it is. This is Google AdWords. Real quick, guys, what's Google AdWords? For those new people that don't know, somebody answer. What's Google AdWords? Yeah, it's Google's paid system. You can tell because of this right here. They have to show that it's an ad. Right? So these are just paid ads. So NBA.com and ChampSports.com, they are paying for their ads to be there, and they only pay if those ads are clicked on. It's called pay-per-click marketing. So that's really not what we're talking about here either. So far, the first several listings on the page hasn't been any of the organic stuff. The free listings start below that, right here. Okay, here's your first three. 1, 2, 3. And then what do they do here? They show you images here. So that's an images section. Google clutters their first page with different stuff. So far, we've seen shopping ads at the top, we've seen Google paid ads at the top, and we've seen 3 normal ads. These ones right here, and these are the ones that are ranking for free, 1, 2, and 3. They're ranking for free here. This is the code that we're trying to crack. How do we get our site to show up in these results? Those are what get the majority of the clicks on the first page of Google anyway. Okay, let's keep scrolling down the page. Okay, more. This is result number 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right? These are all free ads. They're showing up. And let's keep scrolling. Down at the bottom, there's the last page or the last free ad right there. And then you have AdWords again, right? Those are Google ads. And then at the very bottom, they have related searches. Okay, so that's representative of a pretty standard page of Google results. There's roughly 10 organic listings. And so the question that we go back to, so all of this makes a little bit more sense, is the question they ask here at the top. How does Google find web pages matching your query and determine the order of search results? Okay. It says in the simplest terms, you could think of searching the web as looking in a very large book with an impressive index telling you exactly where everything is located. When you perform a Google search, our programs check our index to determine the most relevant search results to be returned, or in their words, served. Okay, so let's go back here one more time. One thing you'll notice about any search in Google is it gives you this number right here. What does that mean right there, everybody who's here with me live? What is when it says about and then it gives a number, and you'll see this on every different set of search results that are out there. It says about 398,000 results. What does that mean? It's related to this, of course, right? It's related to my keyword search right here. Going with their little analogy for just a second, they talked about, well, they basically compared Google to like being a really, really, really large book, right? And so with different sections, I like the analogy of like a filing cabinet. Most of you guys can visualize what a filing cabinet looks like. I'm not going to try to draw one right here. But you've got a filing cabinet, and basically what happened here is I queried Google. I said, Google, in your filing cabinet of web pages, how many of them, well, no, I didn't say that. I said, show me your best web pages for Utah Jazz basketball shorts. And so of this filing cabinet, which consists of billions of pages, billions upon billions upon billions of pages on the internet that Google knows about, they found 398,000 pages that had some relevance to Utah Jazz basketball shorts. And what they've done is they've taken about the top 10, what they think are the best 10 of that 398,000 pages, and they displayed them on this first page of Google. That's in essence what's happening here, right? Okay, so let's go back to what they said just a minute ago here on their page. This will all come full circle here in just a second. Okay, so here's basically what happens. Okay, you have the first part of this whole system, which is called crawling. Okay, crawling is the process by which Googlebot discovers new and updated pages to be added to the Google index. So first of all, Google isn't the internet. Okay, I think sometimes we think if we're searching Google, we're searching the internet. That's actually not true at all. When you're searching Google, you're searching Google's index of what they've found on the internet. Not everything online is inside Google, although most things are. There's web pages out there where you can put in some programming language and you can specifically tell Google when they send their spider technology, they refer to themselves right here as Googlebot. When they send that technology out across the internet, you can actually program code into a website that says, "Oh, wait a minute, Google, stop! I don't want you to find us. We don't want to be included in your search engine." And you might think to yourself, "Well, why wouldn't you want to be in Google, right?" Well, not every website is meant to be found, I guess. Some websites are created just for other purposes, not necessarily to be found by other people. Okay. So Google sends out these little spiders, and these spiders go out and they crawl pages of the internet. Okay. All these millions upon millions of pages. And they find pages through links. So if there's a link on a page, like let's say these are representative of pages. If this right here, maybe I should color this different. Blue would be appropriate. Here's a link on this page. Here's another link. Here's another link. Those links are what Google will find, and then subsequently what they do, guys, is they follow that link to this page, and they follow this link to that page. Here's another web page. They follow that link there. And so on and so forth, and the crawler finds links on those pages and continues to find all sorts of sites out there on the internet. So this crawling technology is happening all the time. It's happening while we sit here. They have to do it because if they find a page once and put it in their index, if a page updates, they need to go find it again and make sure it's updated within their index. So this is just constantly going on. Probably many of you may not even would have even thought about it happening, but it is happening as we speak. So that's the first step, guys. Does that make sense? That's the crawling step. That's Google finding websites. Now, let me clear up my my writing here. Let me scroll down, and let's just look at the second step here. Indexing. Okay. So it says Googlebot processes each of the pages it crawls in order to compile a massive index of all the words it sees and their location on each page. In addition, we process information included in key content tags and attributes, such as title tags and alt attributes. Those would be like your meta tags and stuff. Googlebot can process many, but not all content types. For example, we cannot process the content of some rich media files or dynamic pages. So basically what happens is when those crawlers go out, right, here's their Googlebot technology, and when those crawlers are going out there online to try to find pages on the internet, just like we drew before, more pages. I know I'm such a good artist, aren't I? Okay. That's my representation of Google crawling and finding different pages on the internet. Okay. All right. Well, what happens is when the crawling happens and they find a page like this one right here, they study it. So they look at the meta tags, they look at the alt attributes, like they said, they look at all the content on the page. Is it copied? How are the images? Is it uniquely written? They study it, and then what they do is they take all that information and they index it. Okay, they take it to their index, which is kind of like their large server right here. Okay, full of different indexed pages. Now, how this relates to you guys, and I want to bring this up so you guys, your eyes don't glaze over and you get bored of what we're talking about here. This relates to you guys because when you create a website, obviously, right? We want it to get found in Google, don't we? Because a lot of our customers are going to be searching in Google. That goes without saying. So we have to get found. See, a lot of you guys think, well, if I simply just create a website, Google automatically finds me, and that's simply not true. Often they will, but it's more likely that you can help this process along a little bit. Okay? You can actually send Google to your site. You can basically package your site together in a nice little box and put a ribbon on it and hand it over to the Google crawlers, who will then look it over. Okay, we may talk about that process next week. It's through setting up a Google Webmaster Tools account and submitting what's called an XML sitemap. Okay, let me just write that here so it's in your mind, because we'll not talk about the logistics of that too much right now. XML site map. That's something that we can create within your site that is basically an index of all your pages, and you package it with a nice little bow on it. You give it to Google, and their little crawlers study your site. And they'll study it, and then they'll decide what to take back and index. Now, if you're curious for a minute, those of you who have websites right now, if you're curious if your site has been indexed within Google, there's a very simple way to find out. Let me show you. Simply just go to google.com and type in this, site, and then your domain name. Just like that. No spaces, no www. Notice the syntax there. Site, colon, in this case, one of my sites, financialnut.com. Okay? You can't do site space or site colon space or site colon www. Just site colon financialnut.com, all squeezed together. Okay? If you'll do that in Google, and I'd encourage all of you guys who have websites to do it, and do a search. Google, you basically did this. You basically asked Google, hey, this website, financialnut.com, how many pages on that site are you aware of? And how many of those pages do you have in your index? Now, if you're a new site and you just launched, you might perform that same query and you may not see any pages that show up. Maybe you see one or two. Maybe it's just your home page and one of your top-level category pages. In this case, you can see there, Google found 226 of my pages on this particular site. And I can go through and I can look at them. Okay? Let's do that. Let's just kind of scroll through these a little bit. No surprise. My home page is right here at the top, so that's page 1. Page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, and I could look through 226 of these. Now, real quick, somebody break down what they're seeing here. What is this blue link right here? What do we refer to that as? That's, of course, the link that I would click on to go to that page, right? But that's called the meta title, right? Good. Yeah, a lot of you guys said meta title. So I, as a site owner, I can control what actually shows up in these spots, can I? I can control that. What's this right here? Just so we're clear. And on this listing, what's this right here? Yeah, it's the meta description. So these are things that we can actually control. In green, this is the URL. And most of you guys on your sites can control virtually all of this, but especially this part right here. You can have a keyword there in the URL, right? Whether you're using WordPress or Volusion, there's the ability to customize your URL. Okay, let's erase this. So that's one takeaway I want you guys to have today. If you're thinking to yourself, I'm not getting a lot of traffic on my site and you know nothing's really happening, step one, and if you're trying to figure out why you're not getting a lot of traffic out of Google, step one is just to make sure that Google knows about your site. Perform that little search function that I showed you tonight, site:/financialnut.com or yourdomainname.com, and make sure that Google has found your pages. Now, one thing you may notice is they've only found a portion of your pages. Let's say your site is, 200 products plus 50 categories plus some informational pages. In theory, Google could find somewhere in the neighborhood of 250 to 300 of your pages, yet maybe only 50 are showing up. And that's just because the Google bot found your site, crawled some of your pages, but for some reason or another stopped. And that's usually because your site might be newer, maybe it's not linked very well. It's a little common. It's a little more common to see that of newer sites. Older sites don't usually have that problem as much. But if that happens, there's ways to fix that, and we'll talk about that here in just a second. But step one, let's just make sure Google knows about us, right? You'll never break onto the first page of Google unless they know who you are and know you've been indexed, okay? Again, guys, how do you get indexed? You get found by the crawlers. How do the crawlers find you? There's two ways they find you. Either they find you because you presented your site with that really nicely wrapped box with the really pretty bow on top, right? You gave it to them through an XML sitemap. I won't talk about the logistics of that today, other than that's what you would have to do. Or somebody out there on the internet who is already known inside Google linked to you. Okay, you're a new site. Google doesn't know about you, but because somebody else inside Google linked to you, the crawlers found you through that link. Okay, that could happen too. Okay, questions about that, or is that pretty clear? I feel like that should be pretty clear so far. Okay, let's go to this last piece right here. Step 3 in this process of how Google works is they serve us results, right? So it says when a user enters a query, our machines search the index for matching pages and return the results we believe are the most relevant to the user. Relevancy, and this is an important line here, relevancy is determined by over 200 factors, one of which is the page rank for a given page. So basically, here's what that means, guys. When we did this search a minute ago for Utah Jazz basketball shorts, and we saw that there were 398,000 potential pages that could show up there on the first page. Google only chose 10, and we looked at the 10 that were chosen, right? We scrolled through this earlier. And ultimately, we want to be on this first page, don't we? Because if we're not, it's likely that we're not going to get found. You'll get found on page 2 a little bit, but really our goal should be page 1. Okay, so when that happens, when they choose these 10 pages, basically what this is telling us is that there's over 200 factors here that determine how they pull us up. In other words, if you come to me one day and say, "Hey, Trevor, I'm not ranking at all in Google. I'm indexed, so I'm in Google's search engine, but none of my pages are showing up." There's no magic bullet to make sure that you show up number 1, or even on the first page, or even on the first 15 pages. You heard it right out of the horse's mouth right here. There's 200 different factors. Now, they point to one that's interesting. How many of you guys have heard of this before? This idea of PageRank. Is that familiar to any of you guys who've been around here or around internet marketing for long? It's interesting that's the one they single out. PageRank, it says, is the measure of the importance of a page based on incoming links from other pages. In simpler terms, each link to a page of your site from another site adds to your site's PageRank. Not all links are equal. Google works hard to improve the user experience by identifying spam links and other practices that negatively impact search results. The best types of links are those that are given based on the quality of your content. It is. So Catherine asks, is that the same as page authority? It is in Moz's eyes. I mean, PageRank used to be a factor you could look up really easily, and it was used a lot. It's not used as much anymore. It's measured by page authority mostly. So it basically means, like, of all the factors, of these 200 different factors, and a couple of weeks ago we did the SEO periodic table discussion where we talked about a lot of the different factors that influence where you're ranking. It's just interesting that Google points out this one very specifically. And that one factor simply just means if you have your website, right, you've got your, we'll pretend for just a second, this is your isolated site right here that you just barely launched. Here's your little logo right up here at the top, and you've got your homepage banner, and you've got a couple of featured products running across the middle. Maybe you've got some content here on the bottom. Here's some links up here. Okay, so there's your homepage, and then all your other pages behind it. If I am, let's say this page is in fact selling Utah Jazz basketball shorts. Google's not going to trust it until all these other sites out there on the internet, here's random sites out here online, right, are actually linking to us. That's the one factor they bring up here. See all these pages that are linking in? See, these pages right here are passing PageRank over to us. They're helping us rank better, essentially. So, and Google looks at that like votes, and we've talked about this before. The more votes, the more links you have, that'll help increase your rankings. Okay. So usually when a client of mine says I'm not ranking very well or I'm not getting found, I can usually guess pretty quickly what it is. First of all, I make sure that you've done a lot of your on-site SEO, because if you haven't done any of that, your pages aren't going to be very relevant. You're not going to show up correctly anyway. So if your on-site SEO stuff is done and you're still not ranking, well, you heard it here first directly from Google. The factor they bring up is PageRank. And for us, in our terms, right, that means just how many links are pointing to you. So that'll be my follow-up question to you guys. From the very top, first of all, number one, does Google know about you? Right? We showed you how to figure that out if you've been indexed. Number two, have you done your on-site SEO? And if you can answer yes to both of those and you're still not ranking, number three is simple. You need links pointing to your site. How many links? I don't know. It depends. Depends on how good a quality they are. It depends on the keyword you're trying to rank for. There's too many variables to answer that quickly. We'd have to look at that on an individual basis for your site, but hopefully that makes sense, guys. That's the issue. And just in terms of a time frame, I've actually had a few clients here and there who launch their site, get some of their on-site SEO done. They've submitted their sitemap. They're definitely being found in Google, or at least their pages are in the index. And then they stress because they're not ranking, like, right off the bat. And it's like, it's not working, right? The program's not working. What you're teaching isn't working. It's just not true. If it were that easy to just launch a site and then automatically show up at the top of Google, You know what I mean? Like, think of all the thousands of sites that would do that. I mean, it's not reasonable to believe it is that easy. It's not. It takes more time than that. In most cases, you're going to need to build some links. And even then, after you build links for a couple of weeks, I can't remember who it was. It was one of you guys who really started to slam out a bunch of links for like 2 or 3 weeks, and then was like, "Hey, why am I not getting tons of traffic?" And it's like, well, you got to give this some time, right? Just because you've gotten some links doesn't mean you're getting credit for them right away. Google has to find those links and give you credit for them, and that whole process takes time. So one other takeaway I want you guys to have from this is just that if your only strategy is SEO and you're banking solely on making money off of your business because you're ranking in Google, I'm just going to tell you right now, you need to diversify your strategy a little bit. Although this I think long term will sustain more of you than any other strategy potentially. When you're just launching a site, it's tough right off the bat to have this as your only strategy. So we should be doing other things. We should be looking into some social media and some paid ads. Maybe we should do some Google AdWords. Maybe we should think about some email marketing. There's a lot more that we can do than just the search engine thing. Although I don't want to minimize its importance, because if you can break onto the front page for some of your keywords, you'll get free, sustainable traffic for a long, long time. So just want to give you some reasonable expectations on that. I've had keywords that have ranked within the first month, some within the first couple of weeks after I've optimized. Others take longer. So keep that in the back of your mind as you're struggling through your first few weeks of having a website and wondering where your customers are going to come from. If you can remember kind of what we talked about today, it's not that you're doing anything wrong. It probably just takes a little more time and a little more of this link building. Okay. Okay, so that's plenty for today, guys. I know this was maybe not as interesting just because we had to cover a lot of the technicalities of how this works, but I hope this made some sense to a lot of you. I'll take maybe 1 or 2 more questions, and then we really have to finish up. Russell, I see one from you. Russell, you said, I just tried the site search, and although I see some of my pages, I do not see the count. Yeah, and your site is relatively new, so I'll bet a lot of your pages aren't even indexed for that reason. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised at all if that were the case. So if you see a few, I mean, that's a good sign. It means at least the crawlers are aware of you, and usually without getting any inbound links, they'll come back every couple of weeks or so and check out all the new stuff on your site, and they may index a few more. But if you see some inconsistencies at the start, that's definitely common. Also, if you want to make sure that everything gets indexed and you get one of these little counts, go out and get a few inbound links, and that solves your problem in a hurry. All right, good. Okay, everybody. Well, thanks for coming along. Hope this was helpful. We will see you guys for more marketing training next time. See you again.